The night was cold, the road empty, and the sound of tires screeching broke the silence. A car sped away, leaving behind a trail of dust and an old German shepherd lying motionless on the ground. His name was Max. His body was broken, but his eyes, they were pleading. He had chased that car, believing his owner would stop, believing love meant something. But the man he'd trusted for 13 years didn't even look back. As the red taillights vanished into the fog, Max let out a weak cry, half pain, half heartbreak. Hours later, when all hope seemed gone, another car appeared. A stranger stepped out. And for the first time, someone actually stopped. For 13 long years, Max had been more than just a dog. He was Richard's shadow, his protector, his family. From the day Richard found him as a tiny, shivering puppy on a rainy night, they had been inseparable. Every morning, Max would wait by the front door, tail wagging, ready to follow Richard wherever he went. Through the seasons, through joy and heartbreak, the old German shepherd never left his side. But time, cruel and unrelenting, began to take its toll. Max's once powerful legs had grown weak. His eyes, once bright with mischief, now carried the soft haze of age. Yet his heart never changed. It beat for the man who had raised him. When Richard worked late, Max would sit by the window, refusing to sleep until the sound of that familiar car filled the driveway. Neighbors would often smile, saying, "That dog loves him more than life itself." And it was true. Even when pain made it hard to move, Max would limp across the room just to rest his head on Richard's foot. He didn't need words. His loyalty spoke louder than any promise ever could. Little did Max know that loyalty would soon be tested beyond measure. It was supposed to be an ordinary morning. Richard was running late for work, and Max, as always, followed him to the car, tail wagging despite the stiffness in his old legs. "Stay, boy. I'll be back soon," Richard said, giving a half-hearted pat on his head before closing the door. But Max didn't want to stay. His instincts told him something was wrong. He couldn't let his human leave without him. As the car rolled down the foggy road, Max began to limp after it, paws dragging against the cold asphalt. Then it happened. A blaring horn, screeching tires, and a sickening thud. The world went silent. Max lay motionless, pain shooting through his body. The car that hit him stopped for a moment, and then drove off. But the greater pain came when he saw Richard's car, just a few meters away. Richard had seen him. Their eyes met for a single, heartbreaking second. Max's tail gave a weak wag, expecting help, but Richard hesitated. Fear and guilt flashed across his face. Then, he turned the wheel, accelerating away into the fog. Max let out a soft, broken cry, not from pain, but from the unbearable truth that the person he loved most had just left him to die. The road was empty again, swallowed by silence and fog. Max lay there, breathing shallowly, his fur matted with dust and blood. Every rise of his chest was a battle, but his eyes, those soft, loyal eyes, stayed open, searching the horizon. He didn't understand why Richard hadn't come back. His ears twitched at every distant sound, hoping, praying it was him. But the only answer was the wind. Just when his strength began to fade, faint headlights appeared through the mist. A truck slowed to a stop, and a woman jumped out. Sarah, a long-haul driver who often rescued strays along her routes. The sight before her froze her heart. An old German shepherd, trembling and whimpering, was trying to crawl toward the spot where his owner had disappeared. "Oh my God," she whispered, kneeling beside him. Max tried to lift his head, but only managed a faint cry, a sound so full of pain and longing it brought tears to her eyes. "It's okay, boy. I'm here now," she said, wrapping her jacket around him. He was cold, but when she touched him gently, his tail moved, just once. A tiny flicker of hope. As Sarah lifted him into her truck, Max's eyes closed, trusting her completely, the way he once trusted his owner. The vet clinic was quiet when Sarah rushed through the doors, her arms trembling as she carried Max. "Please, he's barely breathing," she cried. The veterinarian, Dr. Harris, immediately sprang into action. As they worked, Sarah stood by, clutching Max's paw like it was the hand of an old friend. His pulse was weak, his fur cold to the touch, but somewhere inside that battered body, a heart still fought to live. Hours passed. Fluids, stitches, oxygen, everything they could do, they did. Sarah refused to leave. He's been through too much alone, she whispered, gently brushing her hand over his head. Dr. Harris looked at her and said softly, "He's old. He might not make it through the night." But Max wasn't ready to give up. Somewhere in his dreams, he heard Sarah's voice, warm, kind, steady, calling him back. His tail twitched. Then his chest rose, stronger than before. The vet's eyes widened. He's stabilizing. When Max finally opened his eyes, the first thing he saw wasn't Richard. It was Sarah, smiling, exhausted, with tears in her eyes. "You're safe now, boy," she whispered. And in that moment, something inside Max understood. Love could return, even after being shattered, for the first time in days. His heart began to heal. That by morning, Max's story had already begun spreading. Sarah had shared a short post online, a photo of the old dog wrapped in her jacket, captioned simply, "He was left to die, but he still wags his tail for love." Within hours, thousands had seen it. Comments poured in from people around the world, messages of heartbreak, anger, and hope. "How could someone abandon him?" one read. "He deserves the world," said another. Then, one comment stood out. "I know that dog," it said. The user, an older woman named Mrs. Fletcher, claimed she lived next to Richard. "That's Max," she wrote. "He's been with that man since he was a pup. I saw the car leave that morning, and it never came back." The truth spread like wildfire. News outlets picked up the story. Old dog abandoned after 13 years of loyalty. Strangers began sending donations to cover Max's medical bills. Others offered to adopt him, moved by his strength and gentle spirit. Meanwhile, Richard stayed silent, hiding from the outrage. But Sarah didn't care about fame or attention. All she cared about was the old dog resting beside her, his eyes brighter every day. "You've got the world cheering for you now," she whispered, smiling. And this time, no one's ever turning their back again. Weeks passed, and Max slowly found his strength again. The scars on his body faded, but the ones in his heart took longer. Yet every time Sarah walked into the room, his tail wagged, his eyes softened, and his old spirit flickered back to life. She took him on gentle walks through the countryside, letting him feel the grass beneath his paws again, something he hadn't done in years. People along the route would smile and wave, calling him the miracle dog. One morning, Sarah drove him to a quiet field bathed in golden sunlight. Max sat beside her, gazing into the horizon. The wind carried the scent of spring, the same season he'd first been found all those years ago. He turned his head, resting it on her lap. She stroked his fur, whispering, "You're safe, Max. You don't have to be strong anymore." His breathing slowed, calm and steady. For a moment, he looked up at her, his eyes full of gratitude and peace. Then, with one final sigh, he closed them. Tears streamed down Sarah's face as she hugged him tight. "You were always a good boy," she whispered. The camera fades to the setting sun, the sky painted with warmth, a symbol of love that outlived pain. He was betrayed by one heart, but saved by another. Because even the smallest act of kindness can rewrite the ending of a broken soul.